All right. Good afternoon once again. You are welcome. So, yesterday what we covered was just general introduction to my SQL or SQL as one of the programming language which is used in so many aspects of technology, like I highlighted yesterday. I told us that SQL is used in data analytics, is also used in web development, but with different development. All right. So like I was saying, I'll try to highlight the importance of SQL as one of the programming language that is applied in so many aspects of technology. So I mentioned that SQL is used in web development as one of the back end or server side language, primarily used for managing database. And then in data analytics, I spent time to explain the reason why it also involves us as data analysts. And I told us that most time we will be asked to analyze data directly from a website database. Sorry, let me confirm if the network is balanced now.
Yes, it's better now.
All right. No, it's gloomy here sometime. Network are not always strong in the afternoon like this. All right, so like I was saying that in data analytics, we are also expected to understand how to speak SQL language because it will help us to be able to analyze data directly from the website. And then I also talk about the setting up of the SQL in your system. I told us that being a server-side programming language, it requires you installing a server in your system. And I said, as the name implies, the word server means an application that is dedicated to serve others. And I said the framework that we are going to use to write and implement SQL query statements require some funding. In other words, it needs a server to provide the functions that it's going to use. And that was the reason why the whole of yesterday class was actually zero on introduction and how to set the system up for speaking SQL. So we have successfully installed our server, which is my SQL server. We have also installed the framework. In other words, remember all the way from Python, I explained to us that there is no data analytics tool that does not provide a framework. So in other words, the framework is like a platform that allows you to bring all your data components in one place so that you can harmonize them to be able to draw actionable insights from a given data set. So the framework we are going to be using mainly is called MySQL Workbench. And I explained to us yesterday why it is recommended for us to practice or to learn or to master SQL as a programming language. And then I also promised that I'm still going to expose us to the version of the PHP, because there is the ones that we have in our website is referred to as my SQL, but through PHP my admin, right? So so now that we have been able to set up the SQL, remember that I have already explained the full meaning of SQL. We talk about its roles. We've also discussed some of the basic concepts and where we highlighted the meaning of database, column, row, queries. So all these basic terms that I explained to us yesterday, we are going to apply all of them in the practical we are going to engage in this very section. So without taking much of our time, we now look at how to launch the framework, which is the workbench, because once you start your system, automatically the server is started. So you don't have to go and start the server. So once you launch the application, the framework, the workbench automatically starts the server. So which means that we are going to look at how we can start the framework, which is the workbench that we installed yesterday. So you simply go to your taskbar, click on the search section, and then type my SQL. By the time you type just my SQL, you are going to have the application pop up like this. So you click on it and then you give it some time. So it's going to open up the startup page or the startup environment where you are going to create your development environment. So this is the kind of environment you have when you launch the application, Workbench. Now, the next thing is for you to set up a file. And now that file represents your development environment, and which is one of the major reasons why we are consulting Workbench, because the role of the Workbench is to provide us a development environment. A development environment, it is an environment that allows a programmer to write code and to run or execute the code. So these are just the two reasons why we installed the Workbench. Number one is to provide us what? A development environment, which will help us to write the SQL query statement and also tests the code or implement the code. All right, now which is known as our IDE. Remember, in Python, we use Jupyter Notebook. We also talk about using PyCharm, VS Code, and the rest. So as far as this is concerned, the Workbench is an application that is designed to emulate SQL. In other words, it provides us an interface where we can write SQL code and the code will be acknowledged. You cannot open Microsoft Word and say you want to speak SQL. It's not going to work because that application is not designed to emulate this language. All right, so anytime you want to speak SQL, you need to look for a compatible IDE or environment that allows you to write and to implement the code. So Workbench is one of it. Remember, I mentioned another one yesterday, which is Microsoft's Management Studio. You can as well use it if you can install it, because all of them have their unique way of installing them or setting them up. All right, so now how do we get started from this environment? We are going to start by creating a connection. Remember, I told you that what we did yesterday, we installed a server, and that server is to fund the MySQL Workbench. And the MySQL workbench is to allow you and I as data analysts, or for whatever reason we are learning it, to write SQL program and to want to execute the code at the same time. So we have to connect this workbench, because what we have opened now is the workbench. Now, if we do not connect it to the server, it's not going to communicate. It's not going to get any functions that will allow us to perform all of those things I mentioned we can actually achieve with the workbench. So you click on, at the moment, your own, you may just have just one, which could be local instance, MySQL what, 80. But I have already taught some students in the past. That is why I set up this IDE, or development environment, as Prosper. So I'm going to show us how we can set up a fresh one. So you do the same thing from your end. So you click on this tab, this plus icon. Once you click on it, it's going to open up this interface. Now remember, there was a password that we created yesterday, and I was ringing it that make sure that you know that password, because if you don't know that password, it means you will not be able to do what I'm about to do. So if you have idea of the password, once it open up a dialog box like this, the next thing you have to type your connection name. So it was this place that I typed Prosper. So whatever name you want to give to that connection, you impute it here. You are not tampering with what? The connection method. You leave it with the standard. Don't select any other method. Then your host name is the IP address, the local IP address, which it has synchronized itself. You don't need to bother yourself. Your port, I told us yesterday that all SQL app uses this port 3306. That is the allocated communication port. And then user is root. Root means what? Is as in the local. Now, password, you click on store in vault and then impute that your password in here and then click OK. Then after that, you can now test the connection and see if it will indicate connection successful. Once it indicates that, you now click OK. But for some reasons, I can no longer remember my password. So thank God that I've already set up a file. So I will continue the class with this. But let me, I believe, let me allow you to do that. Let me allow you to do that. If I'm to guide you, since I'm not able to, I think I should allow you to share your screen and then allow you to go through this stage, because it's very important. So you can share your screen, sir, except if you are not joining with your laptop.
Okay, I'm sharing it now.
Is it coming up?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so successful. Now click OK. Quickly click OK. Click OK. Now
Okay, it's
click,
okay, right?
yes. Click on that OK. And then you have your file set up. Right. So from here now you can unshare, so you can follow the same that I'm going to do now. You cannot share your screen now. Let's proceed. So now that you have been able to create your connection, then you click on that connection in order to walk you to or into the development environment that I spoke about. So you just click on it, and then once you click, you give it some minutes or second. It will now open your development environment. So this is your development environment. So these are the code that I have written. So I am going to collapse all this so that it will not confuse you. You may not have as much as what I have here, but let me just explain because I've used it to graduate several students. Like you have all the database. So your own, you may just have 3 to 4 default database. There's COVID-19 data set that comes with it as default, which you might see it. You will see this circular as a default database. You will see probably circular or maybe Word. You will see that. But that shouldn't bother you for now. Let me just take you through. Let me just explain the environment of this development environment for a minute. So let me remove all this so that it can look like your own environment there. All right, so when you open the workbench for the first time, you are going to have it display like this. Let me switch to this. Yeah. And then probably if you go to File and select New Query, you are going to have an environment like this. This is how your own should be looking like at the moment. Now, I will just spend a few minutes time to explain the structure of the application as the standard rule for learning application, particularly if you are approaching the application for the very first time. So I'll start from here. So this is the application title bar, just like other Office program you are familiar with. This is a button that allows you to minimize, to close, and to restore and to maximize and to close. Now, this is where you have your name, that is the title bar, part of it. And then you have your tabs here. You have, and remember that the tabs constitute different command. So when you are in a file, you see all these ones. Under edit, I have this. Under view, I have this. Query, I have this. Database, I have this. Server, I have this. To scripting and help. So they are tabs that you can use to access different functions. Now, the application is actually divided into 4 basic units that every user of this framework must understand. And I'm going to explain their role briefly. Now, what are the 4 units? 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, let me start with this section where you have your navigator. So now, the reason why this is actually the server section. So everything you are seeing here are actually coming from the server. They are development tools provided by the server as the engine that is empowering the workbench. All right. So one of the way, maybe subsequently or anytime you install the workbench and the server, and then, or maybe the server is not well installed, one of the fastest way you are going to know is that when you launch the workbench, it's going to open like this, but you are not going to see anything here. In fact, this place will tell you what, no object found. And at the same time, you will not be able to view all this information I have by my. Look, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, I can hear you.
All right. So, So I was talking about this as an evidence that our server is communicating. So I hope from your end, you can also access this. And what you should be seeing here is what? No object selected. Good. Now, this section, which is the server section, has administrative tools and what schemas tools. As you can see here, the word schema refers to the table, sorry, the database. The database, that is another word for database professionally. So which means that we don't have any issue with this. This is where we should be working. So you should know how to switch from the administrative session towards your schemas. So like I just defined now, the schemas represent what database, which means that all this that we are saying, they are collection of different what database. And from the definition of database I gave to us yesterday, database is made up of what? Two or more what? Table structure. And the table structure is made up of attribute and series. Right? Now, so these are database. So in a moment, we are going to look at how we can create one. But these are the database. Your own, you may just be seeing three there. It's still okay. Now, that is for this navigator. That is, the navigator helps us to navigate between the administration aspect, that is the server, and the schema section of the same server. Now, the next part I want to talk about is this section. So this is actually your query environment. Remember yesterday, we looked at the meaning of query as one of the basic concepts in speaking what? SQL. And I told you that query means giving a task to a program in order to do something for you. So, which means that this is our query environment. This is actually the development environment. This is actually the IDE. All right. This is where you are allowed to speak the SQL. All your SQL code should be written here. So let me use a basic term to refer to it as what? Your page. All right. Now, there are a few things I want us to identify from this development environment before I step out of it. Now, you can see some quick access tools here or command. We have this to open your previous scripts. We have this for saving. We have this for running multiple or bunch of code, not just one line. We have this for running only one line. Let's say you have written a whole bunch of codes and you just want to run a particular line out of that entire code. You don't want to execute the entire code. That is when we use this. Then this is what? To explain the command on the statement under the what? The cursor. This is what? To stop. This is to toggle. This is to commit. When you write a command to what? To commit means what? To acknowledge it. All right. Now, or to establish it. This is what? To roll back. Then we need to know where I actually want us to pay more attention out of this whole session I'm talking about is this, and this. Now, if you drop this, you will see different limits of or different configuration that defines or specify the amount of data sets you can load in here. So if you program it on limit to 10 row, it means you are saying that this you can only load in data sets with just what? 10 rows. So recently, before it was programmed on what? The highest was 50,000, but now we have what? Do not limit. So that is the best place you should put it so that if you are bringing in a large data set, there won't be any form of what? Obstruction. All right. So now,
Sorry, sir. I have a question.
okay.
Sorry, I have a question. Okay. Yeah. So what you are saying is that you have to know the number of rows of data you are bringing in before you can set this place. That is prior before they put don't No limits, right?
Yes. Before this one was added, you need to
Okay.
check. Now, what happened is that peradventure you mistakenly set it, let's say, on this without knowing, and you now try to load a data set that is beyond 50,000. It's not going to totally reject it. It will capture 50,000 from that record and cut off the remaining one. So you will just notice that when you are doing your analysis, that your analysis is not correct. So that is where you will now know that you actually your data set has exceeded the development capacity. But thank God for this. So now we can load in as much as possible. I hope that is clear, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. So I've explained this. Now I want to talk about this section. Now this section is like a help, like a wizard that is attached to the whole of this application in order to help you. So in order to help you in understanding some of the keywords that I'm going to talk about or use in a moment. For example, there's no way you speak SQL without leveraging on the keywords. So let's get it right. What is a keyword? A keyword is like, this is a comment in SQL, the space. Now, we're talking about what? Keyword now. So what is a keyword? A keyword, just like the way we learned them from Python. Keywords, they are inbuilt functions. All right? Like select, like those ones that we saw yesterday in my slide. Select, alter, update, from, where, all these are keywords. So there's no way you speak SQL that you will not at some point consult these keywords. All right. So sometimes when you claim you understand SQL, they will ask you that for you to write an SQL statement that can fetch all the record in a table, what are the involved keywords? So you are going to involve select because you want to retrieve the whole data from the table. And then you are going to specify the location where those data are coming from. That means you are going to use what? From. All right. So if you want to create a database now, we are going to use a keyword called create. Table is a keyword. Create is a keyword. Database is a keyword. All right. So what I'm saying is that let's assume that you want to use a particular keyword and you don't understand the function. So just come here. Let's say I don't understand the meaning of select. So once I click here, SQL will explain it. That's why I said this is just like hints that explains the keywords for you. So it's used to retrieve rows selected from what? From or more tables, and can include statements and subqueries. See, and whatever. This is just like reference. So if I'm also having an issue understanding what do I need to do with updates, so I'll click here for the single table syntax, statement update column of existing rows in the name, table with new value. All right, so that is just the rule of that section. So let me explain the next section, which is here. So I am referring to this as part of the, because once I click on an object here, look at it, it will acknowledge it. So they are together. So I don't want to see this as a different environment. So here is your output. So when you run a code, when you run or execute any query statement, either its work or not will be notified through this section. All right. So in a moment, you get to know all this. So I'm just trying to familiarize us with the program or the workbench environment so that when we are here, we understand what is the role of this section, what is the role of this section, what is the role of all the section. So that brings us to the end of that topic, which is what? My SQL workbench interface explanation. That is what I just concluded. Now we look at the next topic. So the next topic is how to create a database What do we mean by database? Remember, yesterday we have talked about database, that a collection of related data. So database means what? You are bringing different information together. And to make it more technical wise, we said yesterday that database is the collection of table, and the table is the collection of related fields. And the fields is the collection of related records. So you can see the hierarchy. Database is the collection of tables, and a table is the collection of related fields, that is attributes. And the attributes is the collection of related what? Records. Remember the diagram I gave to us yesterday. I hope you still remember that diagram. I drew something like this for us yesterday, and I divided it into columns and rows just to qualify the definitions I just gave to you now. So as you can see, so these are the what? The field, the header, which can be labeled. I can label this one as what? Customer ID. I can label this one as customer what? Name. I can label this one as what? The agenda. That is sex. I can label this one as dates. All right. So when I said table is the collection of related fields, now you understand what I'm saying. This is a field, this is a field, this is a field, this is a field. And then when I also said that the fields are the collection of related record, that is the information you have here, let's say 1, plus the one you have here, let's say someone's name, plus the one you have here, plus the one you have here, plus the one you have here, form a record. Horizontally is a record. So you will now confirm by definition that the collection of the data under each of the field horizontally gives us what? The record. I hope that is clear, sir. Did you understand that?
Yes, sir.
All right, good. So now we cannot create table looking at the hierarchy I illustrated yesterday. You cannot talk about table until you create what, sir? I want to complete it. Until you create what? Let me know if you are with me. You cannot create table until you create what, sir? Are you with me?
Yes, I'm with you.
Okay, I'm asking you a question that you cannot create a table until you create what?
Until you create columns and rows.
No, columns and rows, they are properties of the table. And I am saying that you cannot create that table with those components you just mentioned until you create what? Database. Until you create database. Remember the box I drew yesterday, and I created table inside. Good. So that is why once you are familiar with the environment, your starting point is to create a database. How do I know? All these are databases that we created, except those ones that came as defaults. So the first thing we want to learn now, I'll be using comment. Remember that I've told you that comment in programming, let me re-echo it. I know I've established it from Python. Comment in programming means narration, just mere statements that is not meant to be executed by the language. Comments are only good for interpreting our code to us as developer or to the next person or to third party. So how do you implement comment here? How do you write a code here that will inform SQL that do not bother with this session? Don't run it. It's just for the user's what? Consumption. You put what? 2 hyphen, just like you can see, and then you must space. Not just the 2 hyphen, you must space. Once you space, you will notice that the color will switch towards something like blue. And then I'll be using comment to explain whatever I am doing. It's one of the reasons why I'm using Workbench, because if I'm using the PHP my SQL version, I will not be able to compile my code like I told you yesterday. That is why that one is not recommended for serious learning. It's recommended for people who have learned with this to be probably implementing their code directly from the website. Now, we're talking about creating database. Creating database. That is the first thing we want to start by learning. And how do we want to create a database? Using my SQL query statements. Remember, I've mentioned all these query statements. So which means that you are going to write the code. You are not using the app button here. You will write the code, and the code will create what? Your database. So what is the code syntax? Remember, I told you from Python that every programmer should learn to understand the language he or she is learning, syntax, because syntax means the rules that govern the way that language is spoken. If you don't understand the rules of a language, you cannot write it code. So what is a syntax? Just a minute. So what is the syntax? The syntax is you use the keyword. Remember, I told us about keyword. You start with the keyword for creating database. And what is the keyword? It's creates. Whether it's in capital letter or small letter, it doesn't matter. Create is a keyword. Then followed by another keyword. Create is either you say schemas, or you say what? You say, please, just give me 1 minute. All right, so like I was saying, after you have typed the create, then followed by another keyword, which is called database, and then followed by the name of the database, just like the way I named this one, NIT2. So I'll say, okay, Digitech is the name of the database. Now, anytime you are done writing SQL line, once you come to the end of that code, you must end it with semicolon. It's a rule. You must end it with semicolon. You know, in Python was actually using the next line to close the previous one. Remember, I explained to us that time. But SQL does not understand that. You must properly inform it that I have come to the end of this line of code. Now, the next thing is for us to execute the code. Remember, I told us that one of the major reasons why we consulted Workbench is for us to write SQL code and for us to test it. Now, we have been able to write and then we want to run. The question is that how many lines of code do I want to execute? So if I want to execute one line like I've written here, this is the one I'm to use. So the moment you click on it, what happened here? You will see an update here that will create a database. If this is not checked, probably you see something like cancel. Is a sign that the command wasn't taken. So now the next thing is for me to check, because right now that name has not appeared here. So how do I make it to appear? Because from this result, it shows that I have created it. Now, for me to see it here, I have to come to this icon here, which is called what? Refresh. Once I refresh here, you see that what? The name of that database will be added, which is what? Digitech. I hope you are with me, sir. Are you still here, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
so
sir.
I want you to quickly perform the same task. Create your database quickly. Let me use that time to attend to something briefly. Before I come back, make sure that you have created that database. All right, so that is how to create database. Now that we have created the database, the next step is how do we now create table inside? Remember the illustration I gave to us yesterday. Once you have created your database, and then because I told us yesterday that you cannot directly store values or record in the database. The record have to go through table. The table is the one that captures the record, and the table itself is inside the database. So now we have created a database, but I want you to take note of something here. You will see that the color of this customer is different from other. So what that is telling you, what the server is telling you is that right now, all this your code, or any code you are going to write, you are probably be writing it inside the customer database. And meanwhile, I want to create table inside Digitech database. So which means that I have to write an SQL query statement that we use one of the database, that we select one of the database, which is what Digitech. So I'm using comment also. I expect to be documenting your notes. So what do we want to achieve now? Writing an SQL statement. An SQL query statements. So select or use a particular database. So in this case, e.g. Digitech, that is the database we want to use. So how do I do that? You will just write use. So the use is a keyword. So these are the things you need to know when you say you understand or you can speak SQL. Once you need a command or you want to perform a task, you know the keywords and other required information. So use what? Followed by the name of that database, which is what? Digitech. All right. Now remember what I just told you. You have to what? End it with semicolon. Now it's just one of this line, or it's just this line that I want to execute. So I'll click here. Now you can see that what is now highlighting Digitech. I hope that is understood, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. So have you tried? Try it quickly.
Yes, I've tried it.
All right. So now that what it means is that right now we are in Digitech. Now we can now create the table. So the next task is for us to create table. How to create SQL, how to create database, how to create table in database using SQL query. Using SQL query statements. All right. Now, here we are going to pay more attention because we are going to collect different syntax to achieve it. Now, the first thing is we are going to write an SQL query statement or keyword for creating table. And the keyword is create, the space, then table is another word, keyword. then space, the name of the table. Remember, before doing this, you must have used a database. You must have selected a database because at the end of creating it, that table is meant to be located under that database that is selected. So table followed by the name. I can say the name is example underscore table. Now remember, the reason why I put that underscore all the way from Python, I believe you understand better, because you will not want a situation whereby the program will find it difficult to know the type of data that space between example and table is. And that is why we added word underscore, or you can settle for just one word. It's still allowed. Then after that, you open a parenthesis bracket. You open a parenthesis bracket, all right? And then you close it as well. Now you go inside this parenthesis bracket. Let me end it like this first. So that is the key word. Then you go in here, you expand it. You expand it. You can create the space down, and then you come back here and press enter. Now, the next thing you are going to do is to begin to declare the field names, because I told us that a table is made up of what? The field name, which are the header, and the data we collect under each of the headers horizontally form a record. So the first thing is that you create a table, then you now declare the headers before you can think of what are the record inside. Now, the first one is ID, like I told you, ID. And then you have to define the type of data that ID is. Of course, the ID is going to be a serial number. So that is going to be integer. If you can still remember, int means what? Integer for Python. And then we would like it to increase automatically. That is auto increment. For example, if I do not add the auto increment, what I'm simply saying is that if the table, as at the time I create the table, I provide maybe 5 rows for 5 records. Once those 5 rows are used, the table will no longer take more record. But if I add this keyword, auto increment, it then means that once the current space is used up, you should keep adding what? More rows to accommodate more record automatically. That is the meaning of the auto increment. So I will just call it up auto increments. All right. And that is just for the ID row. Now, after that, I'll put a comma, right? Put a comma and then go down. Then I'll create another heading depending on the type of data you want to collect with the table. So the next one is name. And then name, what type of data is name? Name is going to be text. And if it is text, you either represent it with text or variable character, which is represented as what? Varchar. So I can say what? Varchar. I can use what? Varchar. That is what? Variable character. And then you need to specify what we call the field size. The field size. The field size is the word or the name that is going to be collected under that header. What, as in how long is going to be. That is by counting the character. Is it going to be 7 character words or 10 character words? But to be on the safer side, you put the standard, which is what? 2555 as the highest. 255 as the highest. So that in case you are submitting or entering a word that is longer than expected, at least you have already created enough space. And then you go down again. The next header, I could just say what? Email. I could just say email, and then specify the type of email, and then click on this. Now, all this that I'm teaching you now, all this, they are not actually necessary to you as a data analyst. But because I want us not just to learn this for data analysis, so that you can manage database, so you can have a deeper knowledge. That's what I'm going through, because ordinarily the data set we are going to import here will have settled all this. It's not our responsibility
Yeah.
to be creating data, to be doing this. All right. So I just want to
Yes.
add this
Yes,
as
I don't. Yeah, I
oh,
wanted to ask. I wanted to ask that question.
good. So
Yeah.
now the next thing we are going to look at now is we specify the character size of that same word of the field. Sorry. So let's use the same 255. Then the last one, of course, is primary key. Primary key is the serial number, which is a kind of key, like as the name implies, primary key is like a unique number that differentiates each table record from the other. So I can just say what primary key. Let me just add it. Primary key. And that primary key, I want it to be assigned to where I use ID, only ID row that I want that primary key. That is where I want this to be unique. And then once I'm done with this, and then I will execute. Once I do not get error, it means that the table has been created. Now, how do I now also check if the table exists? Remember the table name. The table name is what? Example underscore what? Table. So if I refresh, you can see that at the moment, this table structure here has no arrow like this facing it. Everything is just what? Empty. Once you refresh now, you see that what? It will now carry that arrow, which means that what? You now have a table in the database. So if I want to call out the table, that is another SQL query statement. So I'll now come here. Remember, the next one is how to know the numbers of tables in a database. So if I'm given a website, like Jumia website, probably there are different forms for different things, and I'm directed to analyze the data in one of the table within that database. The first thing I'm going to do as a database administrator, once I get there, I am going to start by calling out all the list of tables in that database. From there, I will know whether that table exists. So that is what I want to do now. So how to display the numbers of tables in database. How to display the number of tables in a database. So what is going to be the syntax? So the syntax will be show is a keyword, then tables, plural, and then you end it. So if I run this, if I don't want to click here, because you are seeing this command because you are using Workbench. If you are running SQL probably on a different platform, you may not have this button that will enable you to what? Enable you to execute your command. So you must know the standard shortcuts for running SQL command, which is what? Control and enter. That is the standard, irrespective of the environment you are. Control and enter. That is what you need to run. Now you can see that it outputted the name of the database, tables in Digitech, and also lists the only table we have here. So if I create another table now and run this, it's going to list out what to. Hope you understand that, sir. Is that understood?
Yes, it's understood, but mine is not.
Let's look at it. Let's look at it. Share your screen.
Okay, okay, okay. Just hold on. Yeah.
What is this here?
Eh?
You say your own is not running. Okay, you are getting
No,
errors
no.
here.
Yes.
Primary key ID. ID integer auto increment, comma, name variable character, comma. What is the error impact? Is a created database. They could not create what database? Create, sorry, not creatable, right? Creatable example. I can't see any error actually from this your code.
Yeah, I don't know.
Sometimes it could be from the in fact the error start from creating database digitech. So that one has created the database already. Then you have used it. Can you refresh? Can you
Yes.
refresh? Can you refresh? Just refresh. Let me see. Refresh
Uh,
that
where do I
icon.
refresh?
That icon. No, 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 no. That icon. Yes. There's
This
an
one.
icon. No, 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 no. There's one that have a two arrow like this. Come down a little. Come down a little. Yes. Click on it. Let me see what. Click. Have you selected it? It has not created the table because if it has, it will have added what the arrow. So can you clear it and write it again? Let me just see. I think it has created it now, right? Yes,
Yeah,
that's
okay.
good.
I made a mistake because I clicked this one.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah, that was what happened.
All right. So now go and refresh again. Let's see.
So I've not written the last code you did. So
Which
let me
one?
do that.
Oh, okay.
So I'll stop sharing now.
All right.
Yeah. Mm.
All right. So any questions so far? Any questions so far?
No question. But let me see your screen so that I just take
Okay.
I can write
So
the last
okay.
code you did.
I think it just show table. Hope you can see my screen and check.
No, it's still whining. Okay, yeah. Okay, so just
Can we proceed now?
no, hold on, sir. Just
Okay.
um, all right, sir. We can proceed, sir.
All right. So that is so we have been able to create table now. So at this point, I don't want to bother ourselves with record, so we just go straight to. So let's look at the recap of what we have done. So far, so good. We now understand some SQL query statements and some of the keywords for creating database and also for creating table. And now we also know how to use a particular database from the list of database you have. So the next thing is for us to prepare our data, or let me say the topic is how to load in external data. Like I told you, since we are learning this for data analysis, our business shouldn't be creating or formulating data sets. So the way we work is that the company gives us the data. So which means that the data will be given to us. So the only thing that you and I have to do here is to create database, because the data that is given to you will not come with database. And of course, that will just represent a table with record. Now, and you know now that you cannot bring in the table without acknowledging it under what? Under a table, sorry, a database. So now the only thing you need is to create your database, which we have already created. So the question now is that between this database that we have created, which of them do you actually want to load in your data sets to analyze? So I'm going to load the data set in Digitech. All right. Now, because we are already using it, so I will just load the data set into the Digitech. But before we go into that, you have to prepare that data. You have to prepare the data. Number one, you have to make sure that the headers in that data set where you use two words must be attached underscore, or you merge them together. That is one level of preparation of that data. Number two, the format of that data should either be CSV, that is comma separated value, or SQL. These are the only standard that you can flexibly bring in here. So that will not take us from here. And then I'll go and look at the data set and show you how we can prepare the data set to meet the standard. Right? So let's say I have, let me sort out my data set from any of this folder. I have data set here. I have just one. Let me open it to see what I have there. So this is already analyzed data set. Well, let me just get the raw data from here. Hope I have. So let me just copy this data set, take it to a new sheet, and then prepare it to standard. Control-C, Control-N. Right? So please, where you are naming that data set, name it one name, please, one word, one word. Please make sure that you observe all this. So I will just name it what? Data, let's say 2 together. Then after this, I have to save it in CSV. I'll go to File, select Save As, and then choose where you can easily call it from. Let me put it on desktop. And then change the format from Excel worksheet to this format. And then give it that name. Let's say, I think it was the sheet name that I named. So let me name it data 6. Data 6, and then you save. Then the next level of preparation is the headers. So I'll check the header. This is 2 words. So you're going to have issues like this. So you either merge it together or you add underscore. So check all the headers where you have 2 words, you merge them together, or you add underscore. But sometimes I'll prefer use single because at times, even some framework will not still understand it. Still be counting that underscore as non-identified data type. So I would rather stick to 1. And then I will just put this one is just price and then quantity. So let me just focus on the headers that I'm going to. Let me just prepare everything. And then here, single word, single double. I can just put gross. And then here, I can just put
Sorry, sir.
Yes, sir.
So if I've been given a data, can I alter it this way, like you are doing?
Yes,
For
yes,
instance,
yes.
unit price. Can I remove it and say
What
price,
what
or
you
I should
yes.
just use underscore or join both of them, just
Yeah,
like
yes, you can like I explained before, you can choose to use underscore, but to be on the safer side from experience, underscore works, but there are instances where we have underscore, but it's not recognizing that header. So that is why I give that advice that to be on the safer side, you can just turn everything to single word. Now, when you are given a data set like this, the person that collected the data sets is not a data analyst that will have known that, oh, maybe this data will be worked on later. So you keep the original copy before you make a copy, and then you tamper with the copied, not the original one. You know, that has been our standard. When you are given a data, whether you are modifying or not, always learn to keep the original copy because arguments can arise. All right, there can be argument that the data will give you is not this one. You added 1 or 2 things. You just bring back the original one. Now, and whichever way you are reconstructing the headers, make sure that they still portrays the meaning so that the meaning does not deviate you from what you are supposed to analyze. But I still know that, well, within me, this is gross income. But when you are writing your report, your final report, you should align the term with the original data. You know, like here and I was having gross income and I remove gross and I have just income. So if I'm writing my executive report, I'm going to write where I want to say income, I will be adding what? Gross income, invoice. I don't know if you are getting me. So that when I'm
yes, I'm getting
presenting
you.
it ahead, not look as if, but I only did this to enable me to what to get the value needed. So once you are done with this, you save. Now we check. I think everything is all right. Remember the name is data6 and I save it on desktop. So I'll close it. Now I will now go back to my development environment and then write and call that data set in here. So this is where we will now start. What we have done now is just to prepare this data to the standard in which we can load in here. So the next thing is if you have not used a database, so let's say I go to file and I open a new tab, I have to do use, don't forget, use the data base, digit. You have to observe it like this. You have to indicate the database you are bringing in the data set into. And once you have done that, you now come to the table structure. All these are already structured that are there once you create a table. Now you right click on that table, and then you are going to say table data import wizard. So once you click on it, it now asks you to browse the data. You know where you kept the data, desktop data sys. So you click on this, navigate to where you have it. And then if it's difficult for you to find, you can just type the name here. So since I found it, I'll just click here and then click open. And then I'll select next. Now, once you select next, please always make sure. One of the ways you will know that you have not selected the database before embarking on this is when the name of that database and the tables under it did not appear. You can see that this is telling you and I that you are currently in Digitech, and there is an existing table, which is the one we created, which is what? Example underscore table. Yes. So where you do not have a table under database, you are not going to see this. You will just simply see the name of the database. Then you must not click on this option. Select create a new table, because if I click here, what it's saying is that I am taking the record from my data set table and pouring them inside what? This table. And of course, you know that the headers are not there. The headers we
Okay,
have.
sorry. I want to quickly ask a question now. For us to bring in external data, or rather the tables,
Yeah,
we'll first of all create the database.
that is the only thing you
So,
need.
so I don't need to start creating table like we
No,
did.
no. I just
So in that case now, what is going to appear here?
nothing. What will appear in that case? Nothing will appear here. This place will be empty. This is the only place you see the name of
Okay,
the database, just like the way you are seeing it now.
Okay.
So it's actually showing all this option that you have one table there. Oh, will you like to put the thing there? You say no. By that is why I'm not click here. So which means I'm going with this option. I'm going with this option. All I need to verify is the name of database and the data set that I have selected, which means that what at the end of the day is going to be Digitech dot what? Data 6, just like the way this is. Now, this option says drop table if exists. In SQL, the word drop means delete. So what you are saying is that if this particular data table, because this is going to represent your table, data 6 will become your table. Now, if there is a name that exists exactly with what you are trying to achieve, you should delete it and allow this one to. So you leave it just like this and then click on next. Now, once you click on next, you know, when we were creating this is actually the reason why I did that little illustration of how to create table, so that you know that there is what we call data type. That place I use variable character. I told you that it can be what text. You can come here and say, okay, you want to change it to what to any of these. These are different data type. But I would advise you to leave it with the ones that have been selected by default. All right. You see that what where you have monetary value, they are double. That is what floats all the way from Python. You understand that. So you can just take a look at that, and then everything corresponds. And then you see the data sets you are bringing, see that everything is okay. Then you click on next. Now, this is to notify you that once you click on next, this is what is going to happen. It will start by preparing the import, and then finally what? Import the data into the selected database. And then you say yes. You click here and then watch this until these two processes are completed. And then before you can click on finish. So the time this will take depends on the volume of the data. Don't be surprised if you are loading a very large data set, it can take longer than this. Are we together, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right. So now I've confirmed these two processes completed. I'll click on next, and then you can see this is one thing you must check. Look at what it says, 0 record. which means that you did not capture the value. The value were not captured. Something is wrong with this. So what you are going to do now, you are going to go back and reprocess the data. I can't continue like this because no record. If I go there, I'm not going to see record. So let me try and see if I can do something else. Sometimes the data format, I know I've changed it from Excel format, so that could have been the issue, but let me try and see if I can get another working data set. Let me check this Amazon. I know I've had issue with this particular one. Okay, like here now I've added underscore. Okay, let me just go and call it. That is Amazon on desktop. So let me go back there and right click on the table again, import wizard, and then go to desktop. Go to desktop. I think it's Amazon. Amazon. Okay, this. So I just hope that. Okay. Just hope that we should be able to get a record capture. Okay, perfect. So you can see we have what? 100 record imported. So you must see this to be sure that your import actually capture record. Then you click on finish. Now, the next thing we
Sorry, sir. Sorry. Is there any scenario where it can actually capture? Is it possible?
like I do what?
Is there any, can it partially capture? For instance, if the record is 100, it captures maybe part of it and leave the rest. Is it
Yes,
possible?
yes. Where it will happen is from here, sir.
Yeah,
If I put if
outside
I
this place.
no, it depends on if you program it on a lower number and you're trying to bring a more voluminous data. Definitely it will show you if you have an idea of the value before, because of the limit that you must have set, it will want to capture that volume.
All right, thank you.
All right. So now the next thing we want to look at is I think I should allow you to achieve this. Have you done that? Let me give you a few minutes to also, because I like us practicing this.
Just continue. I
Okay.
will watch the video and
All
look
right.
for a data to.
All right. All right.
I
Good.
don't have data now to
All
do that.
right. All right. So let's look at a few things before we end the class. Now, we have been able to load in our data sets. That's the first thing. Now, how do we now know that the table or the data table has been loaded here? So if I refresh here now, I have to write an SQL statement. Remember the one we wrote the other time where we wanted to know how many tables are in the database. So that is what I'm going to write now to know whether that Amazon as a table has been included in this Digitech. So you start by using the database, which I've already done. Then I will just write what show. So this is one way you confirm again, show tables. Show tables, and then you execute. You see that what we have, even the one we stopped, added before we stopped it. So we have the Amazon. Now, the next query statement that I want us to look at is, how do I now view the records inside this Amazon table? So that is our next query statement. Write SQL query statements to view all, that's the emphasis, all the records in a table. All the records in a table, not just parts. We'll come to that probably in the next class. Now, for us to write that code, we will say select. So you can see where I started using the keyword now. Select. Sorry. Select is a keyword like we checked the other time for retrieving. For retrieving, select. Now, asterisk, shift and 8 has a meaning in SQL. That asterisk means what? Select all. It means all. It means all. Then from where? From another keyword. Then followed by the table name. So that's the reason why if you have not written this line of code to have seen the list of the table, once you get to this place, you'll now be looking for the name. So now I know that my table name is Amazon, and then I will just put it, Amazon. And then remember what I told you, you must always end your line of code with semicolon. Then press Control and Enter, then you get all the record displayed. So this is just like in Python, where you write, where you create a variable, you now do PD dots, then read before you can see. You can see how we easily achieve that, though we have already done the imports. Hope is clear, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's clear.
All right. So I will not be able to teach till 4 because I have a church program to attend. So
It's okay, sir.
now we want to stop here, and then because the other ones I would like them to be part of the next class so that I can take time to explain them very well. So you go and digest all these ones that we have done before the next class. So the next class will probably be next tomorrow. Tomorrow is Christmas, so I wish you a happy Christmas in advance. So we have to rest tomorrow. We continue. That should be on Friday. I think you are available on Friday now.
Can we do Friday in the morning?
I don't have problem. I'm very, very okay with that.
Okay. Okay. All right, sir. It's okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Morning what time? 5 a.m., right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Please still remind me tomorrow so that in case I not remember to send the link regarding to that time. All right. All right.
All right.
All right. Thank you very much. So meet next tomorrow.
All right, sir. So please send me the video. Send me today's video.
I'll try and do that.